first one, I'm the only one that saw it, so you'll hear my review, and that's going to be Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. I am a huge fan of the first one. This is probably my most anticipated movie of the month. I was very pumped to see it. Basically what this is Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes is back, along with Jude Law's Dr. Watson. And Holmes has been following a bunch of terrorist attacks, and he's linked them all to one very specific, very random, but a genius adversary, and that's Professor James Moriarty. And he's played by Jared Harris, who's a character actor. If you guys have ever read any of the Sherlock Holmes books, you know Moriarty is very prominent in the entire series, which is, 40 or 50 short stories and then a couple novels. Moriarty is very often seen in the background. He's not always a prominent figure in the stories, but he's always the arch nemesis to Sherlock Holmes. He is the epitome of the arch nemesis of modern day villains. He really is. So, that said, Holmes and Watson chemistry is once again at the forefront. Watson gets married in this picture. Oh, I said picture like I'm 80 years old. Jesus Christ. So, he gets married in this picture, and subsequent he gets involved. What?
He said it again.
Did I say picture again?
Yeah, you did.
In the
God
sound.
damn it. Moving pictures. He gets involved in the mystery, of course, and that's basically it causes problems for his marriage, both humorous and dangerous. Noomi Rapace is in it. She was the original girl with the dragon tattoo. She shows up as Simza. She's a gypsy Holmes ties into the conspiracy. Rachel McAdams pops in for just a bit. Both are really nothing more than glorified cameos. And well, I guess Noomi's more than a glorified cameo, but she doesn't really have much to do. So basically, the women in this movie are wasted. It's really about Holmes and Watson and their pursuit of Moriarty. The film is good. It's pretty good. It's very entertaining. Let me go into the direction, I guess. Guy Ritchie directed the first one, and he directs this one. He's also done Snatch. Brian, help me out here.
Lock,
Stock,
Stock,
Two
Two
Smoking
Smoking
Barrels.
Barrels.
There you go. Okay.
Rock and Rolla.
See, he's done a lot of crime thrillers. And then he did Sherlock Holmes, which is his first hit movie. Okay, which he did a very good job with. And he did in that movie that slow motion where they slow the frame down and they kind of go through Holmes' brain, where they show how he picks things apart and how they're going to proceed when it goes to live action. So he basically does a slow motion version of what's going through his head, and then they do the actual time version,
Which is awesome.
It's awesome. In this movie, he does it way too fucking much.
Yeah.
It happens at least 10 times, it feels like. And it gets old. I mean, it's a really cool effect, and I like how he did it. But I think he thought it was a lot cooler than it really was, and he wanted to do it a lot. That part took me out of it a little bit. So that part's getting a little thin with the series. I don't know if they're making any more, but if they do, please, Guy Ritchie, stop doing that. Or at least slow it down. Once or twice is enough. We get it. The slow motion action, I generally get really annoyed with, but there is a fight through a forest where it's very prominent. The bullets are coming, because there's not many. I mean, this is the 1800s, late 1800s. I mean, it's like muskets and shit. It's not like a semi-automatic weapon. So when the bullets are coming, there's very few and far between. But when they're coming, you can feel like every bullet hits. So when it hits a character, and the slow motion, the way it plays, you actually feel the pain of that character, and it kind of makes it a little more realistic. And there's a train scene that was phenomenal. That was probably the best action scene on it. So, which brings me to my biggest complaint, I hate to say it, which is Robert Downey Jr.'s Holmes. Now, so far it sounds kind of like a negative review, and it's really not. It's just I'm pointing out the things that, as a person that loved the first one, this is kind of what bothered me. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Robert Downey Jr., who I love, and I loved what he did with Holmes in the first one, gets way too fucking close to camp. Like, he takes the character way too close to camp. He does a lot more costumes and, basically where he tries to hide who he is and very clever and witty. Oh, I'm going to dress up. And he dresses up like a woman, and he dresses up like a million different things, but he gets too close to the campy line. That stuff is clever until you take it too far and you're trying to go for the easy joke. And that's where he gets really close to in this movie. Doesn't quite get there.
Is that the writing or is that his acting?
I think it's both. I think Downey wanted to take it a little further, and he wanted to do a lot of the costumes and let's pretend I'm a different person and dress up and everything else, because it's funny. Because when he dresses up like a woman, it's funny. Everybody's seen that commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, when little things like that start happening a little too much, it borders on camp. It gets really close to, okay, now you're just doing it for the easy joke. And that to me is camp, and that doesn't belong in this film at all.
Okay.
So, especially being a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. That part I didn't like, but he didn't quite go over the line, but there's several moments where I'm like, oh, please don't, just stop. And then he would pull back. But I was very concerned throughout some of the movie. So if there's another one, I really hope that they dial that back a little bit and get more with he's a little wacky, but he's still serious nature than the first movie. The score from the first movie, which I worshipped, I loved the score in the original movie. I didn't feel like it was very prominent here. Like I didn't hear it a lot. I hear it here and there, but it wasn't nearly as prominent as the first movie. That's something that I noticed. Okay, now what I loved was this is the thing where the movie was kind of it wasn't up to par where I wanted it to be, but as the characters played on and the film played on, brought it right back up to shoot it up over the mountaintop. So it ended really strong. The scenes between Moriarty and Holmes are perfect. Like the mental chess play between those two, perfect. Loved what both actors did. They both nailed, especially because I did read every single one of those stories. They really nailed what Conan Doyle wrote about in those scenes. I mean, how those two were constantly having a verbal chess match. And I've said that once already, but I'll keep saying it because it very much applies. In the writing and the stories, and what is only hinted at in the movie, especially the first movie, and a little more prominent in this one, is that Holmes and Moriarty they spar. You know, they're both of equal intellect is kind of how it is, except Holmes knows where to stop and Moriarty goes way over the edge. You know, he wants to bring about the end of the world. Holmes still has a little bit of that moral compass. So, and honestly, Holmes would be who Moriarty is if he just lost his sense of right. So, and the very end, they do literally a chess match, and the way it plays out isn't like your typical action flick ending, which I was so thankful because I thought it was just going to be cheesy, over the top action ending, the way that the film had been going so far, and it wasn't. It was very much a mental chess match. It was very much of these two against each other to the very end, trying to one up each other.
That sounds really intriguing.
That part was awesome, and it brought the whole movie up. It really did. So you ended on a woohoo instead of a Downey, you almost didn't make it, you know. So, bottom line, I didn't love everything, but I had more fun than I've had with most movies this year. And the things that I didn't like, that's mostly what I focused on. But the movie itself, I really liked. I just didn't like it as much as the last one. Downey should have toned it down just a hair, and it would have been a lot better. So, out of if $10 is the full price of a ticket, I'd spend $7.50 on it. Boom! I know it was long, but by God, that's what I got.
Well, hey, you're a big Sherlock Holmes fan.
Huge Sherlock Holmes fan. So, Justin, did that sell you? That probably didn't sell you, did it?
Well, I mean, I wasn't all that chomping at the bit to watch it anyway. I wouldn't say you've increased or decreased my desire to see it.
Well, you really should like the first one better.
I've got it. I'll watch it again. It could have been the mood.
That's right.
But I'll see this one, but it'll definitely be DVD.
Next time, get in the mood for love.